Hello, hi. Hi, Piroko. Hi, Amitabh.
Hi,
Hello.
Joe.
Hey, Vineet,
Hi.
how are you?
Very well. Jewel, we're just waiting for more followers to join in
Yeah,
so that I'll introduce you to all of them.
sure, sure,
And
sure,
how have you
sure.
been? You've
Good,
been
good,
okay?
thanks.
And
Well,
how
as much
you?
as I can in this situation. How are you doing?
Right. Same, whatever you could do, it's probably we're just feeling so stuck at
Yeah,
home, but I think that's the right way to be at home
yeah.
and take care of. I think we have to break this chain,
No,
and let's
absolutely,
hope it
absolutely. Yeah,
just gets over very soon.
yeah, yeah.
All right.
Unfortunately,
So
I had to come to the office.
Or, well, that's the part and parcel of people who are working in the AFP. They have to do
Yeah,
all these things.
yeah.
All right, so
No,
I'll start introducing you. So, guys, please a very warm welcome to Jules Samad. People who don't know you, let me just introduce you. Jules Samad is the AFP South Asia-based photo chief based out of Delhi. He's born and brought up in Dhaka, Bangladesh, and in his long career of close to 3 decades, he's moved from Indonesia, covering from the devastating tsunami to the war-ravaged Afghanistan and sensitive Pakistan. And the jewel in Jules' crown was the being at the White House as the AFP correspondent in 2008, wherein the president of the USA was Mr. George W. Bush. He covered President Barack Obama administration until 2014 before moving to New York for his next assignment. Samad is one of the interview in the one of the interviews said, "I started my photography in 1993 when I was 15 years old, and an age when most teenage boys play soccer or cricket and go to school. Photography was my playground." He stays with his wife and 2 daughters and continues to make some of the best historic images of AFP. Uh, very impressive bio to start with. Uh, Jewel, I want to know how did it all started?
well, Vineet, it is kind of like in my family. My
Hmm.
father and three of my uncles, they were photojournalists working for local newspapers in Bangladesh.
Hmm.
Like you said, at the age of 15, when I wanted to
Hmm.
support my education and wanted to do something,
Hmm.
the first thing and the easiest choice I had at that time was photography, and I started working in a dark room as an
Hmm.
assistant for about a year before
Right.
I had a chance to hold a camera and become a photographer.
Right.
So this
So
is how it started.
I feel when we start photography, obviously that smell of the darkroom, that developer, is obviously that stays in our mind. But at the same time, I feel on the contrary, photography is something about going inside and finding light where there was dark room inside our minds, and that gives us light. That's a more philosophical approach. But I want to understand how, what is that picture? Maybe, of course, your uncles were there, but is there something that stayed in your mind that, okay, this is the reason I want to take pictures and I want to say this from my pictures?
Well, to be honest, with all fairness, when I started
Mm.
as a only to a mean of earning some money to support my
Mm.
education. But
Right.
as I got into it, I fell
Mm.
in love with it. And
Mm.
to be honest, till today, I don't have any other hobby.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have much friends.
Mm.
You can say for some people who say I have a sad life, but I love what I do, and
Mm-hmm.
I get paid for that.
Right.
And
So,
I'm loving it. Yeah, I'm living it.
isn't it the best part that you're getting paid
Yeah,
for what you like doing it? I mean, a lot of us
yeah.
we're craving all our life that we can be paid for what we like, but we are not. But when you can make your passion as your profession, then there's nothing like it. Any particular image, decided that it is a changing point?
Not really. Like I said, I love taking pictures. So I love
Mm.
whatever I do. It could be a simple picture on the street in Delhi,
Mm.
or or New York, or or the places that I've been, or it could
Mm.
be the picture of a president. It doesn't matter. I love taking pictures. Any good picture is good to me. Anything.
All right.
It's
So
kind of like, it feeds my my inner side.
right. So now, who better than the AFP chief can tell us when you said a good picture? What is a good picture, Jewel? I mean, I always, get this question, and I'm always trying to answer this,
Okay,
but I
there are.
fail it.
I mean, for me, there are two aspects of this. When you taking a picture as a photographer,
Hmm.
if I am satisfied with what I'm taking, that is a good picture to me.
Right.
If I'm happy with the picture that I'm taking, it's a good
Hmm.
picture to me.
Right.
From the other side, like you said, you mentioned AFP. So I edit a lot of photos.
Hmm.
Before validation, I edit the pictures,
Right.
and what I look as an editor for, what is a good picture is like it have to be well composed,
Hmm.
and it have to tell the story. We
Right.
are in news business, specifically, so it have to tell what you trying to portray in your picture.
All right. So
So
can I take this liberty of asking you? You said it. You first thing you said that it has to look okay, and it has to be composed well, and then you said it has to tell a story. So what do you look at first? Does it should tell a story first, or it should be well composed first?
well, it's a tricky one actually, but depending on the story, like for news especially,
Right.
we sometimes use picture that is not that well composed, or not like really good light or anything, but we use it because it tells the story. It is news related, and we need
Hmm.
it to to show our clients, or our readers or our viewers that this is
Hmm.
what is happening.
Right.
So when it comes to pure news, we
Mm.
might compromise in composition, in lighting or things,
Mm.
as long as it tells the story.
Right.
But if it is a feature story, or some story that you can give time, and
Mm.
you had enough time to work it, then I
Hmm.
would prefer a very nice, well composed, well, like, you spend your time on it, and you go to the right time of the day to get the proper light, and
Right.
you tell your story the other way. It's a feature story.
So, when you assign these kind of assignments to young newcomers, do you tell them that in given situation, even if it's for news, please compose the frame as best as you can, because composed frame is always going to be a bit more valued than the frame which is not that composed.
Well, I have I learned it from my colleagues, and also people that I worked with,
Mm.
and I respect that rule. And my rule is like, I don't tell photographers, seasoned photographers, how to take a picture.
Right.
It is a creative thing to do. So
Right.
I don't want anyone to be another Jules Samad. I want to be that person, and
Excellent.
bring out their own composition.
Yeah.
So and most of the time it works. Most of the
Right.
time it works. Yeah.
So, guys,
So,
whosoever is listening, please understand that you don't have to be X, Y, Z. Please shoot the way you are, but make the best composition in the available situation. So, Jewel, you had a very interesting journey from Bangladesh to various cities across the globe. A brief on that would be interesting, because Bangladesh, I love shooting in Bangladesh. I love shooting in Dhaka. It's so much food for a street photographer that you blink and you miss in that city. So tell us a little bit about your journey.
well, like most of it now. Well, I started in Bangladesh in 1993,
Hmm.
and I used to work for a couple of newspapers until I joined AFP in 2000.
Hmm. Hmm.
And from there, I was based in Islamabad briefly. And
Hmm.
from Islamabad, I was in Jakarta for 3 4 years.
Hmm.
From Jakarta, I was transferred to Los Angeles.
Hmm.
I spent there about a year before moving to Washington, D.C. to
Yeah.
cover the White House mostly. And I spent like almost 7 years in D.C.
Wow.
And
Hmm.
then 4 years in New York.
Hmm.
And before coming to Delhi, I was based in Bangkok for about a year,
Right.
and now
So
I'm in Delhi.
So these
So
are
yeah,
all beautiful places to shoot light. The light is so gorgeous in all these cities. Now, of course, I know DC is your favorite city for obvious reasons, but apart from DC, there is something that you were doing an assignment in all these cities. But I'm sure as a photographer, you were shooting for yourself also. Is there any favorite city? Is there a place which you feel that, okay, if I have to shoot with my eyes closed, I'll go to this city and I'll start shooting?
I'll give you a very simple answer. Dhaka.
Dhaka, right? It is
Yeah,
it is so gorgeous. It is the light is
uh,
good. The chaos is it's so
yeah.
mystic. I really like Dhaka, and especially your train station is so beautiful. I just love to keep going there again and again. So you've covered various important situations like the tsunami, Cricket World Cup, Grammy Awards, White House as correspondent, and many more. One most memorable on-field experience you would like to share with us?
That yet have to come. I enjoy every moment, every assignment,
Mm-hmm.
from small to big. I love shooting pictures, so I cherish all of them.
So this is
There's
this
no
is
particular. Yeah, sorry.
I knew this answer is going to be there because a photographer, he doesn't enjoy every moment, then he's not a photographer. But okay, let me rephrase it. Any particular instance or situation that stays in your mind or has etched something deeper memories in your mind?
Uh, well, it's not that pleasant, but covering the tsunami, a
Mm-hmm.
couple of images from the tsunami is moved me a lot
Mm,
and stayed in me still now.
right.
One of the images was like I was covering a mass grave,
Mm,
and there was a mother holding her baby who both died and burned somehow
right.
in that grave, and that image it never left my head. It's like
Mm,
every time,
mm,
like I'm getting goosebumps talking about it honestly.
right. Right.
So
So, Joel, you've also like I've realized over a period of time that any news photographers or people who are covering these things, I think they are also at risk at a lot of times, like a war scenario, and you've covered war. Is there a situation or is there a moment during the war photography that you felt that, I don't want to do photography anymore? Or maybe a situation where you felt, or maybe it helped you even more that I want to continue photography as what I'm doing.
I mean, the thing that you just said. I mean, during the war, like I covered the Afghan war and the work in Iraq for AFP, and
Mm,
there was never a single moment that I thought that why I'm doing it. So
mm,
this type of assignments that inspired me uh, to do a better job, and I like. I mean, personally,
mm,
I love to do that. I never
right.
felt like there were a couple of times I came close to a very risky situation,
Mm,
but not a single time in my life so far I've been doing photography. I thought that why I'm doing this. I
right.
love what I do.
Right. Jule, I've had a conversation with Nick Ut also, but I want to know your thought process because everybody is an individual. Jule, I want to know when you're shooting war and if there is a scene going on in front of you, do you give value to taking that image first, or you have your own, you're empathizing with the scene first? I just, I can never relate to that kind of thing, but I always want to ask that.
Let me tell you a small story in there.
Yes, please. That's what I've
I
been waiting for.
I was covering the Afghan war, and I was in Gardes, and
Mm,
we were covering like US bombers was dropping bombs,
right.
and I was in a car with a reporter, and there was another car behind us. If my memory is not, if my memory is right, it was from the Toronto Star newspapers.
Hmm.
They had a photographer and a reporter in that car as well, and
Hmm.
we were before them, and suddenly we heard like a sound blast sound, and so we went back to check what happened.
Hmm.
We found out that their car was attacked, and
Mm,
the lady reporter,
mm,
she lost better part of her thigh, in that
Wow.
attack, and
Mm.
she was in a very bad condition. In
Right.
that car, there was the driver, there was our driver, there was the reporter, and later I learned that the photographer who was traveling, who was a part of the team from Toronto
Mm-hmm.
Star, actually was the husband of the reporter. So they
Mm.
were couples,
Right.
and instantly I was shooting picture instead of
Right.
instead of helping her. Okay, let's put it this way.
Right.
And the other photographer, the Toronto Star photographer, he came to me and he was like, what the heck are you doing? Why are you not helping?
Right.
So I was saying that there was 4 or 5 people helping. You don't
Mm.
need any more help. I have a camera and I have a
Mm.
job to do. So I was thinking to document that thing, that incident.
Right.
And I could understand that he was very upset, and
Mm.
but and I was taking picture. I was not, because I thought there was enough people to help, to be
Right.
honest.
Right.
So eventually we took them in our car and took them to the closest U.S. base, and later they were flown to Kabul. They were okay. So when I came back, like I believe like a week or so after
Mm.
that photographer, he came to my office and apologized to me and saying that you were doing the right thing, because yeah, there were a lot of
Mm.
other people. No one else was there to document this. So you
Right.
did the right thing. So this is, I mean, if I see someone, let's put it this way: if I see someone that
Mm.
if I do, if I don't help him or that person, he will die. I will not take a picture. I will help him. But if I see that
Right.
someone else is helping him, and if
Then
it
you
is
would
a
take.
historic moment, then I'll take the picture. That's my very personal opinion.
Right. So when you're documenting certain situations like this, do does the news which you've been reading all along here and there and listening to stories, is it your subjective interpretation to the scene, or do you have an objective when you're taking up pictures that when you will, because news is, I feel there has to be an objective. When somebody reads it, there is a way to reading that picture. So do you have that objective, or is it the work of the chief like you now, that which image to show?
To be honest, whenever I shoot pictures
Hmm.
on the street or news or whatever, I just try to do whatever in front of me.
Right,
I don't preset my mind to do, okay, I have to do this and this and that. I just
right.
do what I see in front of me, and I try to document it the best way possible for my viewers.
So it's more like a documentation.
Objective,
What you
yeah,
Very good.
exactly,
So
yeah.
that is, in street, that is the difference which we feel that, you have to be subjective because you're putting your own interpretation into the scene, whereas in news or photojournalism, you have to have an objective behind the scene. So you've been shooting with all sorts of cameras, I know, but some personal photography has been done on Leica. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I completely, love Leica. There's no doubt in that.
Mm, mm,
My first Leica was M240,
mm-hmm.
and that I got when I was in New York, and
All
New
right.
York is very good for street photography. And
Yes.
I loved that I loved it, and I used to take out that camera every single day with me wherever I go.
Right.
So
So what lens do you shoot on?
well, I have a 35 Summicron f2,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and
So
but sorry, yeah.
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Now I was going to say that I got a like a Q2. That is my
Mm-hmm.
to-go camera for anything now. So I
Mm-hmm.
mostly shoot with that camera now.
Excellent. So 28 is your preferred length? All right. So,
Uh,
like all photojournalists in the world, they're shooting on either 28 or 35. They say that if their vision if it's more in the peripheral vision, then they shoot on 28. And if they're shortened, then it's 35. And also, plus, I feel that Dhaka and India, you need to have maybe 24 to shoot everything what is going on in front of you.
yeah.
So, you traveling in all these cities, seeing all those things. What's normally there in your kit bag?
Well, apart from, like I said, apart from my regular DSLR cameras,
Mm-hmm.
I don't go out without my Leica Q2 anymore. So
Sure.
wherever I go, even if it's a family dinner or something, I
Mm.
will have my camera with me, which is the Leica Q2.
Right.
And I do shoot. I mean, depending on the assignments, it varies what equipments I carry in my bag. Yeah.
Let me just try to show people if I can show them your images being shot on Leica Q and Leica M240. These are, am I correct? These are the Leica images?
Yeah, this is Q2. Yeah.
All right. So guys, look at these images. So I'm very new to this function which I'm operating, but I'll still show. This is nice. Okay, so this is kind of juxtaposition that I'm sitting on the top. This is really shallow depth of field. Jewel, can you tell us more about this picture? This is f2 or
This one is
maybe
f2. Yeah, this is M240 35 f2. Yeah. Yeah.
right.
I mean,
So
I prefer to shoot wide open whenever possible. Yeah.
all right. So I all right. Let me just see if I can get yeah. All right. So these I also wanted to know that apart from lenses and apart from your camera, is there anything else that you really don't like to miss in your kit bag?
Well, these days an iPad.
Right, of course, yeah.
No, no, and I mean, pretty much, yeah. Not, I also carry a Summicron 90 mm with me. That's
All
I
right.
use
I,
sometimes. Yeah.
I've spoken to war photographers and they always have some lucky charm in their bag. Do you also like to keep any lucky charm not to get hit by a bullet?
No, I don't have any such thing.
Right. Okay. So apart from your professional work, any other genre of photography you pursue or you enjoy?
Nope, I love what I do. I mean, and to be honest, for me, news is the like whatever I shoot, it has to be for AFP. I mean, it
Right.
has to go out on the wire.
Right. All right. So anything like you said a very small line that whenever you go for family dinner, then also you have the like a cue with you, or this is very this is a beautiful thought with a photographer. A beautiful thing with a photographer is that they like to document their own family also. So are you documenting your family also around, or you're seeing things which you normally would like to shoot in a different way? Like there's a way that all of us are, and then there's a way how a photographer sees it. So do you see it? Are you doing a documentation of that sorts?
Unfortunately, no.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I take a camera always with me is because of again the news. God
Mm-hmm.
forbid if anything happen,
Mm.
I have to have a camera with me.
Right.
So this is the thought process behind wherever I go. I have a camera with me.
That's excellent.
And
Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
no, no, I was going to say I do take pictures of my two daughters sometimes, but
Mm-hmm.
not as much as I would love to. Yeah, no, it's true.
Well, what better for them that the AFP chief is taking pictures of them? We would probably crave all our life for somebody from AFP to take our pictures, but they have somebody at home. So you once said, every time I cover a disaster like this, a little piece of me is lost. Can you elaborate on this as once as you photograph any such incidents, you make it relive for eternity? Now, this has also been a question by Stephanie, which she is writing, that does making the traumatic image change your personality or any image that stays with you?
Well,
How does that leave an impression?
the thing that I was just telling you about the tsunami, the image of the tsunami,
Hmm.
that mother and the child.
Right.
Normally what I try to do is like after covering such disaster or bad
Hmm.
situation, I
Hmm.
try to delete it from my head. I try to forget about it. I
Right.
intentionally try not to think about it after that. But
Right.
some of the incidents they just stuck in your head. Uh,
Right.
I think I believe I said it when I was covering the this last earthquake in Palu. There was
Okay.
this big mass grave they were digging on top of a mountain,
Hmm.
and I was using a drone to take some picture.
Hmm.
And the thing is like those type of image just get into your head and never goes out. And
Right.
it just I remember when first I saw a dead body I was covering. uh, I felt bad, but it,
Right.
over the time, many more I saw dead, I saw disasters.
Mm,
uh, I think a part of me inside got like hardened, my soft
mm,
part got, just I lost it. And
right.
this, I mean, I think everybody who go through this, some
Mm,
of maybe some of are very strong, but maybe I'm not that strong. But
mm.
I think it leaves some sort of mark in you.
Right. And it is definitely it changes you as you evolve, that you it changes you as a person also.
Yeah.
Uh, you have a job and then you come back to the family, then you have to balance it out. I can imagine what you could be going through at that time. Photojournalism in Asia is very, very strong, and you once said that. Please elaborate a little bit upon that.
I believe, I believe there are lots of stories to tell in Asia, and there are
Mm,
very, very talented, many talented photographers to tell them. And
right.
and recently you will see that there are very excellent stories coming out of Asia.
Mm.
And
So
so,
if you will see, I don't want to leave out any country's name, but in particular, if you will see, the lot of new young batch of photographers coming from India and Bangladesh. And you can't literally say that, oh, their vision is alike. They shoot alike. They shoot very in a very different style, but yet the talent, you can look at the picture and say, oh, this guy is talented. Is there is there something in the DNA of India and Bangladesh that this is coming out, or you feel that they have such baggage since the time they are born, that they're seeing or looking around so many things as a kid, that they're trying to portray that in the picture? What do you have to say about that?
well, I never thought about this like this, but maybe you're right. Because
Yeah,
we grew up growing up in this type of country, we see things
right.
that many people who is growing up in a developed country don't see.
Right, because
So
Bangladesh, if we see it on the global map, it is very small. But if you count the number of photographers, their ratio is so high compared to other photographers. It is, I feel the literature also, they're very good at literature also. Their reading is like their second nature. And as Indians or Bangladesh, I don't want to divide that among borders because of photography or some political issue. But if you will see, their language, vocal language, has a kind of blend. If you will easily see and you will look at the picture, and you'll know that this guy is from this belt, which is very, very strong. So if you have any, maybe you can throw in some light, because you would be seeing photographers every day. But if you feel that maybe there is, maybe you can put on some light if you want to.
uh, like I said, I mean, I don't think, I mean, I totally agree with you on that. Like maybe it had to do something big, that we grew up in this type of situation. You know, we
Right,
we we see these things, and different people see things different way, but we see these things pretty much every day. So
right,
the poverty is something, a big contribution, I think, and the social, the society, the culture.
hmm,
It is a mix of everything.
right,
We see these things, and there are, a lot of interpretation of this also. When
right,
a photographer, like every photographer is different, so everybody is taking pictures of the same thing differently. So,
right.
but yeah, I think maybe the geography, maybe it's in our DNA, like you said.
Yeah, maybe DNA and the weather which we are
Yeah,
going
yeah,
through.
oh yeah,
So,
yeah.
I feel a photograph is something which we hold in our hands. It is not some backlit images. How often do you print your pictures?
Not as often as I would love to, but yeah, like,
Mm-hmm.
as a wire photographer, we live
Mm,
in a digital,
mm,
unfortunately,
mm,
the only print I see is printed out in a newspaper, and
mm.
nowadays it's mostly also in the website. But yeah, I mean, it's not that much. But I agree with you. I mean, I would rather have my photograph printed,
Mm,
or even in the newspaper being printed than seeing in the websites.
right.
But this is the change. We can't do anything. This is the
Right.
business is changing.
Right. So how do this pandemic is gonna, I hope this gets over very quick, but maybe it's here to stay for some more months. How do you see this changing, or how do you see life after this pandemic as a photographer or as human, you know?
I just want to go back to normal, Mike. Just
Yeah,
I hope it's finished soon, and we find a safe way to come back to a normal life,
right.
because it's affecting everyone's life,
Mm,
economy, and
right.
it's not good for anyone. So we
Yeah.
should just have to find a safe way to go back to normal life.
Right. So you pretty much answered all the questions which I had, but there's one question coming from Pranav. He's just sent it. According to you, what is the main element in your photography?
Well, your sense of telling a story,
Hmm.
like how you want to tell the story,
Right.
so how you want to, yeah, take the
So,
picture.
so Jewel, this is a very open comment that how you want to, and I feel that anybody who's listening wants to be maybe wants to learn how to tell that story. So do you want to elaborate a little bit more
Sure,
with,
but
yeah.
but like you said, it's very open. That's how I stayed. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if today, if I go out now to take a picture, I'll
Mm-hmm.
not, like I said, I'll not set anything in my head. I'll
Right.
just do what I feel like. If I see something, okay, this is a photo. Yes, it is a photo. And how I feel like, okay, I feel like to take it a 35 millimeter or a 28
Mm,
millimeter, or I want to compose it this way or that way, or I want to wait for a better light, or
mm,
I do it from what is coming from my heart, or what I'm feeling like. So
right.
I don't like, I never, to be honest, I never went to a school to learn photography.
Right.
Whatever I'm doing is I learn it from that newspaper dark room I started, and ever since I've been working, I never been to a school. So
Right.
whatever I'm saying, maybe it doesn't have these academic steps to explain, but I do what I feel like.
All
If I
right. So
feel
it
like it's
is.
a picture for me, yeah, it's a picture.
So Pranav, start shooting from your heart, and it's going to be a
Yeah,
picture. It's always like that. Jewel, if I can take the liberty of one last
sure.
question, which just popped out in my mind, and it's my question. I'll be really thankful if you could answer. If we are on the street, and if there's a job or an assignment which is given by the news company, uh, I have limited time, maybe an hour, but I'm looking at shots which I want to feed my soul with, and then there is a job which I have to do. Which one should I do first?
Well, if you are a web photographer, if you're working for AFP, you have to come back on time. So yeah, you just be on time and do your assignment and just get done with that.
So yeah,
We face that many times. Honestly, yeah, it's a good point. Like, as a news photographer, you
mm,
wanted to sometimes you want to give time, but you don't have the time to give.
right. So
So you just have to deal with, yeah, yeah.
time is a very, very important factor. Jules, thank you so much for taking out time and giving us, in fact, sharing us with all the knowledge you have. May God bless you. And I think to all of us around, the world is going to be a good place to live soon. Listeners, this is probably the second last session for the Leica Live. After this, we will come out with more interesting sessions. So please stay tuned in. Jule, thank you so much once again. And stay,
Okay.
stay, brother. Stay.
Thank you for having me, Vineet. Stay safe. Bye.